Hey, Gundam Maniacs, welcome to another episode of Gundam Explained. With this video, we're continuing the look at the 08th MS Team series, and I'm actually at the real last episode. Last time was Shuddering Mountain Part 2. This is called Last Resort, and this is almost like an epilogue. While the last episode ended in an interesting way where we don't know the whereabouts of Shira and Aina, in fact, they could be dead, this kind of gives us some more resolution, not only to the characters, but also to the war in general. It's very interesting. Some little tidbits that are hidden in there. So yeah, let's take a look. Hey, but before we get started, if you haven't, please subscribe. Check out the Patreon. There's a link in the description below. We kind of do some fun stuff, movie nights, exclusive content, etc., etc. But yeah, let's get started. Okay, this starts with the date of the 24th of December of 0079. Now, we know during this time period, it's nearing the end of the one-year war, even if you look at other stories like War in the Pocket, where that took place. There's a lot of pivotal moments that occur here, and that seems to be all throughout Universal Century and the Earth Sphere during this time, where, which side will it actually, come out on top. In the case of War in the Pocket, they stopped the nuke. In the case of the MS team, they were able to stop the Opsilus. So it's very interesting how it immediately starts with this Xeon pilot, and he's like, hey, we're going down with the ship. And it's like, well, who is this guy? What is this all about? Interesting that all this stuff is being introduced right at the end of the series. And he says, I'm not going to let you kids die not like this. And they're just showing within this room. We'll find out what it is. There's a bunch of kids. Why is there focus here? He even goes as far as telling them they have an important mission to complete. So again, what is this all of a sudden at the end of 08th MS Team? Where's Shiro and Aina? Really cool shot here because we're actually seeing, again, we saw that this is December 24th of 0079, and we're seeing some battling that's occurring above Earth. There was a lot in the Earth Sphere that was going on. This in particular, and we'll see here in a second, it's above South Asia. Cool though to see the Musai and the Gelgoog lasers flying around everywhere. And I want to add something. I don't know if this was done intentionally, but a lot of the music during this part, and I noticed some of it during 08th MS Team, but not too often. It really sounds like Zeta Gundam. There's a lot of the instruments in the orchestra section that reminds me of Zeta. And it's funny, this guy's like, you kids will live on, and I guess he's putting them in a Komasai shuttle and sending them off. And we see like the Musai is about to blow up, and the Komasai shuttle has exited with those kids. And just to give some background on the Komasai, it is a type of re-entry capsule used by the Principality of Zeon during the One-Year War. This is something that was shown in Mobile Suit Gundam, 08th MS Team, MS Igloo. It's probably been shown in some other Gundam media. And it's really just for transport because we can see the armaments is just two Vulcan guns that are mounted on the nose. It was one of the primary methods used to bring personnel and mobile suits to Earth before the introduction of the Zanzibar-class mobile cruiser. Crazy, so they're in Earth's atmosphere. If you look into a lot of UC Gundam during the One-Year War, especially some of the videos I covered of those side stories, there was a lot of these issues that had to do with the atmosphere of Earth having to do with having to escape Earth and having to, figure out how to get out of Earth's gravity, but also for people in mobile suits up in space coming down to Earth's atmosphere, you would just burn up. You had to use special equipment or be in shuttles made for re-entry. So this Gelgoog was protecting the shuttle, and this pilot put themselves on the line to make sure the shuttle got down to Earth safely. We've seen Earth Federation soldiers talking to villagers here. That's pretty cool. Okay, Mikhail starts talking, and we kind of see some wreckage of mobile suits, tanks, different type of weaponry since the war. Now, the war is over at this specific point. The beginning, it was still 0079, but this is actually in 80. Mikhail says 00 whatever, but this is actually when the 08th MS Team has been disbanded. Okay, and Shiro and Aina still hasn't been found. In fact, you would think, okay, if Shiro didn't die, he went into hiding because, as we saw from the end of the last episode, top officials of the Earth Federation wanted to reprimand Shiro, even kill him for his acts, even though, again, it's all up for debate on if what he did was right or wrong. But at the same time, it's very plausible to think Shiro killed himself to destroy the Obsolus because of um, what would happen once the war ended. He would probably be detained, if not executed. And so McKell's given a lot of background information that there was this kind of post-war reorganization. So members of the 8th MS team got, I guess, sent to different places. Who knows? But McKell was one of the only to be discharged. And with that, he decided to use this opportunity to go look for Shiro. And it probably has to do with the fact that being in the battle that the 08th MS team were in, all the battles that they were in together, the commander seemed like Shiro seems like a great commander. At the times that he had to reprimand McKell, he was also a good mentor for him. And so he's compelled to look for Shiro. And along with that, Aina. And Kiki shows up once again. I guess she's native to that area, or that's where she grew up. That's her hometown. And I guess as McKell arrived, maybe he sought her out, or maybe the plan was for them to meet up so that they can try to go and find Shiro, because Kiki had some strong feelings for Shiro. Now, it might not necessarily be that it was romantic. It could have been that she just looked up to him like an older brother. She knew that he liked Aina. Everyone knows that. So I just think it's cool that she still cares about him. Okay, so as they're going down the river, they come across this hatch. It has the Principality of Zeon emblem right on it. So they're starting to do their investigations. You would think that at this location, anyway, there would be a lot of debris, whether that's Zeon or Federation. And this is where they come up to that Commissai carrier. They seem to have found it. And, they go inside to look around. It looks like people had been living there. We can even see clothes that are hanging, potentially for being dried. Okay, and in this frame, we see the focus is the hand reaching in to grab something. But if we look at the disc, the floppy disk potentially, or maybe some new futuristic physical format that they use in the future to keep things protected. Let's just go with that. It says Dr. Flanagan on it. Okay, Flanagan. Does that sound familiar to you? This brings us to the Flanagan Institute, okay? So the Flanagan Institute was sponsored by the Principality of Zeon, which was established in June of 0079 at Balder Bay Colony of Neutral Side 6 to investigate new type phenomena. So what's interesting about the beginning of the episode is we saw these kids, that they were called kids, that were supposed to be the future, that they had a mission. They were put on this transport shuttle, just sent down to Earth while the Musai ship blew up. So obviously they were important. And seeing the Flanagan disc tells us that these kids were probably new types. So it's a collection of these new types that were gathered during the 1 Year War. Who knows what happened to their original parents? And they've now crash landed on Earth. And it looks like it just happens to be in the area that McKell and Kiki are at to search for Shiro. So very interesting that that's occurring here. And it kind of ties more into the 1 Year War in general, especially on Zeon's side, with what they were doing with their experiments, with their weapons, with their plans. And McKell wakes up the next day, some strange kid standing over him. And they're all, Kiki and McKell, they're tied up on a raft with these kids standing with them, taking them somewhere. Really cool shot here, seeing a Gelgoog mobile suit. Probably not the same one that we saw just burn up and disintegrate in the atmosphere, but just pretty neat that we're seeing all of these artifacts of the war scattered throughout. And they're being walked through the jungle to this house that's probably in a remote area, really, if these kids are able to survive here. Okay, that's very interesting. That seems scientific, researchy like, where you see these twins that look exactly the same and they're both holding some stuffed animal, kind of creepy vibes there. So now we meet this character, and he seems to be the leader of the kids, probably maybe due to his age. He's a little older, but he seems to be really sticking to the military theme of authority. He has that Zeon uniform on. And he's kind of treating people in that way, not in a bad way, but more of a place of authority. So this is very awkward, where we're seeing them feed a mummy with blue hair. No, but it's someone that I guess was very badly damaged, and they're wrapped up, just kind of an interesting little thing that's going on. And it's interesting here. They're speculating why the kids are here in the first place, why they're not turning themselves in to the Federation or Xeon. And I think the main thing here that just that these characters don't know has to do with the fact that they were these kids that they were being experimented on. I don't know how much that they are still aligned with carrying out their mission or how much they feel that maybe they were being used, were they kidnapped? And so they would rather not have Xeon or Federation find them because they could be further put into these experimental operations. Or it could be simply that they are just hiding out there. They are aligned with the mission and they have no issue with it, but they're just waiting out until whatever the next uh, plan is. So Mikkel and Kiki actually break free and they go searching around and they find the kids dump that body of that blue-haired person in here. And again, very interesting what's going on here. And Kiki yells out to them saying that that's not the proper way to bury someone. So Kiki's calling them out for not being sad. And they're like, we are sad. Our hearts and minds are one. And each, it seemed like different kids were saying that as if we're kind of seeing some new type ability manifest where they're able to sort of share emotion, which is a consistent quality of new types that we see throughout UC Gundam. And it's kind of like hinted out here just a bit. And because they said the name of that person they're bearing is Aina, it shocks Kiki and Mikkel, and they show a picture of Shiro, and they're like, have you seen him? And they say, yes, but he's dead. Just wanted to point out great shots in this last episode. Great music throughout. I don't think I'm doing it justice. I don't think I do any of these episodes justice when I just kind of skip around and talk about them. That's really just for commentary and discussion. It is worth watching through this episode. There is something about it that it is a feel-good episode. And this is just an example of that because this is some amazing art and it's playing some great music and it feels good. It's different than what we've been seeing in the previous episodes where there's a lot of death and destruction. This seems to be a little different, and I really appreciate it for that. So, Mikkel and Kiki go out at night to the supposed gravesite of Shiro, as the kids said, and they're gonna try to dig him up and confirm if he's really there. And the kids, not the leader guy that we've been seeing, but the other kids kind of show up to tell them the truth. How he's not there. Now we're getting some interesting flashbacks to what looks like kids being experimented on. So it's further expanding on this kind of subplot that's emerged. We see Dr. Flanagan there. They had documents listing each kid, and even one of them, or all of them, it said erased, as if they've erased their mind. And that means something here in a second. It's very interesting because this main kid leader of the group of kids has this dream about what happened and wakes up. It's almost like he is understanding how he has in some way been lied to himself. That might be some of the motivation and the decision to potentially let Mikkel and Kiki know of what happened to Shiro and Aina. And what's interesting is the kids are talking and they're giving their names, and all of their names are names of the 08th MS team. Sanders, Karen, Mikkel, Shiro. The main leader kid guy, his name is Shiro. And part of them, these kids feel like they're finally getting their identity, as we saw on their documents. It said erased in that little flashback sequence. So for them, it's a big deal that they have this identity here. And the main kid, Shiro, he almost doesn't want to have to give up the identity that he's gotten. And I think, Mikkel and Kiki understand that, and to try to put them at ease, like, no, keep your names. Those are your names. And between Mikkel and Kiki and the kids, you can kind of see where there's some sort of resolve that occurs as the other Shiro is kind of letting it all out, everything he's gone through, and I guess not trying to hold on to it too much and be so defensive. Interesting how they're showing it's snowing. So where they're supposed to be is in South Asia, but there are some regions that are higher elevation or a little further in the north that would have snow. That's something I looked into on the episode where the Opsilus takes off with Shiro's ground Gundam and they land somewhere that had snow. So again, still South Asia, possibly near or around Tibet. Kiki's wanting to get more information about where Shiro could possibly be, and he lets them know they're north of here. And what's interesting here is they wake up the next day and the kids are gone. And Mikhail and Kiki are like, well, maybe this was an illusion. Was it an illusion, or is it maybe that whole conversation between the kids, Kiki and Mikhail, kind of led the kids to understand maybe they have something they should be doing. They should go off and go do something. I don't know. I find that very interesting that occurred here, and I don't have the answers. And when they're kind of guessing where the kids could be, the idea is, they're searching for a new world, a better life. And maybe that is just overall just kind of discussing the yearning humans have in general for life, always trying to find the next best thing, because it's a bit abrupt. And I wonder if there's more, maybe in some side stories, there's maybe some story implications of this event occurring. All right, so we see Kiki and Mikhail walk up to a cabin. And, out near the cabin outside, we see these two figures sitting at a table. In mountains in the background. We're getting to this mountain range where there's a lot of snow, and they went further north. So I'm assuming this is near Tibet. And there we go. So Shiro, Aina, living together, a peaceful life. Very cool, in my opinion, to see this. Aina herself has become a Gundam. She's got a little pilot in her, so that is pretty cool. Character development for these characters. It's kind of like a happy ending. And just seeing Mikhail so happy is great, and Kiki's sad. I bet she's so happy to see the commander alive. Maybe she's a little sad in a way that, he has this life with Aina, but that she is just so happy, though, that he is happy. That's kind of the way I see this from how she's being animated, her reaction. It's very well done. And the last shot is seeing them talking, moves up, nice music, and then it ends. So there you have it, Last Resort. Again, I feel like I haven't even done justice by just skipping through and talking about it. Oh, that's the point more. It's just the discussion. Curious what you guys think about it. One interesting thing, though, is that we know by the time we get to Char's counterattack, an asteroid falls on, or meteor falls onto Tibet. And that is potentially where Aina and Shiro are. Maybe they've moved since then. I don't know if there's any other, and I kind of did a little bit of digging, but I didn't know if there's any future stories that have to do with Shiro, Aina, or their kid. There doesn't need to be, but it's just kind of interesting. I think it's a super happy ending that they got, that we don't normally see. And I like how this last episode, that's the happy ending, doesn't need to be watched along with the full series to kind of get a cool ending anyway. Again, this is like an epilogue that really kind of dives into what could be happening next to kind of give that, good resolution. But then we have the whole thing with the kids from the Flanagan Institute. Where did they go? What became of them? I'm sure their lives have changed drastically. If, in fact, they were kidnapped, they had their minds erased. Are they trying to maybe find who they were? Are they trying to take revenge? Or are they just trying to maybe live a normal life? It would be interesting to see what comes of that. So I've completed 08 MS Team. I think I'm going to do a follow-up video later on to kind of just talk about my overall thoughts on the series as a whole, some standout mobile suits that were in it. But really, when it comes to this episode, this was great. Curious what all you guys think about it. Let me know in the comments. Yeah, I'm really curious. And if you like this video, yeah, give it a like. But anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll talk later.